Hello, and welcome to The Pool is Abstract, where we're currently rewatching and dissecting the revived series of Doctor Who, episode by episode. My name is Connor, and with me is the bat that sleeps on my ceiling. It's Charlotte. Hi, how you doing?
Hello. Thanks.
Do you sit there in anticipation every time?
I do wonder what you're going to come up with, but I guess, you know.
Yeah, I don't know. The thing is, I often make my notes ahead of time, and then that is often just left till the last minute.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Charlotte, today we're covering Series 2, Episode 3, School Reunion. It aired on April 29th, 2006, and was written by Toby Whithouse? Whitehouse? I'm not sure how you pronounce it. I think it's Whithouse, but I can't remember how you pronounce it. But, yeah. New writer. It's not Russell this time. I guess before getting into it, I know how I feel about this. I assume you would feel the same, but do correct me if I'm wrong. This is a lot better than the last two.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. This is where Series 2 starts getting good. And then, yeah, I mean, the next one's good, and then, yeah. It dips a bit, and then it gets back good again. Series 2's weird. It's all over the place. It's
I like Series 2.
It's like a roller coaster. A couple of things I'll say before we actually get into the actual breakdown of the episode is that I know that the concept of Sarah Jane and K9 returning to the show was one of the ideas that Russell pitched back in 2003 for the revival. The whole idea was what would happen after a companion left the Doctor and how that would, affect their lives. And the concept was how they would tackle that without relying too much on knowledge of the classic series.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to do a story like that without relying on people knowing all that stuff. So, yeah, I think, like I say, that was one of the ideas that was pitched back in 2003. But I think in terms of getting that across without relying too much on previous knowledge, I think this episode does a pretty good job. Yeah,
I think so. And I think obviously it helps as well that, you have the Sarah Jane adventures that come after this. So
yeah.
So even then, it's a good setup as well for that, if you were curious.
It kind of acts like a weird backdoor pilot for that series, doesn't it? Yeah. And I guess as a result of that, this is technically the first episode to confirm that the revival series was a direct continuation of the original series. It's always kind of been implied, but it's, I don't know, you could have seen the revival as a reboot. Because they never actually refer to the Ninth Doctor as the Ninth Doctor.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
True.
So the 2005 series could have been a reboot, and that's fine. I think this is literally the first episode that confirms that the original, the classic series, was in the same continuity as this. Does that make sense? You know what I mean?
Did they mention? Does the Doctor mention at any point about bumping into the Daleks at a certain point, or bumping into...
Yeah, there's things like... Do you remember when they're in Van Statten's vault and they see the Cyberman helmet and the Doctor says, oh, it's an old friend, well, enemy. And there's little things like that. Yeah. But I guess it's kind of just implied stuff from the past.
Is it kind of like how we've had the new reboot? Where if you're actually a Doctor Who fan and you've watched the stuff before, you would notice it. But if not, it would just be oh, that's just
no. I
building.
argue not, because I feel like this new series. You're talking about the Shooty series on Disney
I feel like that.
I feel like that is reliant on you knowing a lot of stuff.
I do agree, but yeah. But in the sense of that kind of thing.
But it's funny because when I watched this as a kid, obviously the monster of this episode is the Krillitanes.
Yeah.
And the Doctor says something like, last time I saw them, they just look like humans with really long necks. And I remember thinking that the Krillitanes must have been something from Classic Who.
Yeah.
But as far as I'm aware, they're not.
Are they not?
I don't think they are. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Anyone listening who knows?
I have no idea.
I'm sure Rob will listen to this, he'll tell me. But...
Either though, I do wonder were they in any audiobooks or...
I don't know. To my knowledge, this is their first appearance. But that's me. As a kid, I assumed because he said that it was something from the classic series, because the Doctor had mentioned Daleks and Cybermen and stuff before. So, yeah, that was like an assumption I had. So I guess if you watched this series, when the Doctor sees like the Cyberman helmet and he says like, oh yeah, you know, an old enemy or whatever, you could just take that as something that happened in like previously in the Doctor's life. Doesn't necessarily mean it like the classic series was canon to this.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I thought the Krillatanes were in Old Who, and as he was describing how they're humans with long necks, my brain was trying to work out
What that would have looked like 70s makeup. Yeah.
I was like, I bet that looks interesting. I'll have to Google that later.
Yeah. No, I mean, I might be wrong. Like I say, I've not watched all of Classic Who yet, but to my knowledge, this is their first appearance. Are you okay?
Yeah.
You've yawned about 6 times since we started recording. And every time you do it, I'm trying not to yawn myself whilst talking.
Sorry. Look, the week and the episode changes, but my status of tired doesn't.
I'm pretty sure you said that last week.
Yeah, I told you I was tired last week.
Yeah.
I'm still tired.
Yeah, I know. Anyone listening to this would think we record every episode we've done so far on the same day. You're doing it again!
Please, I can't help it.
Yeah, anyone listening would think we recorded all, 15 episodes so far, on the same day, and I'm just keeping you awake. You're chained up in in the room. I was like, right, Charlotte, it's time to record now.
No, a whole week has passed, and I have slept since then, but I've also lived since then, so...
Yeah. Do you have anything to say about this story before we just jump right in?
No.
No?
Nothing at all.
Okay. So, the episode begins, we're in Deffry Vale High School.
With a lot of green walls. Very green.
I love the difference between my notes and your notes. My notes are usually have something to do with the continuity of the show or how this what this means thematically, and you're like, green walls.
Yeah. I was just like, wow, those walls are really green.
I mean, I said this to you during the episode, but my God, if this isn't the most British high school.
Yeah.
Everything in obviously I've not been to America, so my entire perception of what American high school life is is based purely from films and TV shows and stuff, but they always seem so glamorized. They always seem very clean and things like that, where British high schools genuinely look like buildings that are I was going to say 100 years old, not even in the sense of they look like they're I don't know, Victorian buildings. They just look run down.
Yeah.
They just look like
they are.
Yeah, they look about as up to date as Legoland. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, a lot of the schools haven't had an update
They were
since the 70s.
I was saying most of them were built in the 70s and have not had a lick of paint since.
No.
Yeah. So yeah, we're in Deffry Vale High School. We meet Mr. Finch, who is the headmaster. He's heading over to his office and he notices a student is waiting outside. He asks what she's doing there and she says she has a headache. He says well, why are you bothering me? Why don't you go home? And she says, I can't. And basically she lives in a children's home. So he says oh, you're an orphan. No parents to miss you.
And she's like, no. I mean, not that it matters, but surely somebody would be in the care home that they could come and pick her up.
Yeah, there's got to be a guardian.
There's got to be somebody there. Do you know what I mean? Oh, the kid's not feeling very well. Oh, well, that's it.
Well.
They stay there. Nowhere else to go.
Yeah. So he's like, oh, yeah, no parents to miss you. Well, I see why you were sent. It's time for lunch. And, he invites her into the office. The door closes. And we see, the shadow of something weird move. And we hear the girl scream. And then we cut to the Doctor walking into a classroom in his usual brown suit attire.
Yeah.
But no, he's not the Doctor. He is John Smith, physics teacher. And he says, afternoon class, we ready to begin? And that's the cold open.
It's quite short.
Yeah. Does a good job, though. Sets the tone. It's it's weird. It's not camp in the way that, the cold open from Tooth and Claw was. But it's simultaneously not a super serious episode. Do you know what I mean?
I think it gives you enough. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's oh, it makes you curious of.
It establishes the setting, who the main antagonist is, and what the Doctor's doing there
Yeah.
in a concise, 2 minutes.
Well, not even what the Doctor's doing there. You just know the Doctor's there. You're like, why is he a teacher?
Well, I assume you work out he's a teacher.
Yeah, but you don't know why.
Well, yeah, I guess. But, yeah.
He's just a teacher. You look at Capaldi later on, he's just a teacher.
He's a janitor.
No, I'm on about, well, he's a lecturer, isn't he?
Oh, in Series 10. I thought you were on
Yeah.
about in The Caretaker.
He's also a janitor, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. He's had a varied career, hasn't he, old Doctor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd
I wonder
like
what
to
his
go
CV
to-
looks like.
I'd like to,
Unit Scientific Advisor, janitor.
I'm not gonna lie, I'd like to sit on a lecture for the Doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause
Yeah.
they make a point of saying, don't they, that his lessons are always just about whatever he wants to talk about on that day.
Again, vibe.
Yeah, great. But yeah, that's our cold open. We get the titles, and then we cut back to the classroom, and the Doctor is talking about physics.
No, the Doctor is saying physics.
Physics.
He's not talking about
physics. Physics. Did you cringe?
I did, yes.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, please stop. I also cringed at Correctamundo.
Well, I mean, even he cringed at that.
He did, yes.
Yeah. So at this point, the Doctor's asking hypothetical physics questions. If I do this and that, what will happen? Things like that. And only one student seems to be able to answer them. A kid called Milo, and not only is he able to answer them, but he's answering very very quickly.
Yeah.
The Doctor asks anybody else, and no one can. Yeah, that's when he hits us with the correctamundo. Yeah, he starts asking increasingly harder questions. Even just abandon science at one point and just ask a maths question.
Yeah.
And Milo can just get it immediately. He doesn't miss a beat. And the Doctor looks a bit baffled, a bit like, "Ooh, what's going on?" So then we cut to Rose, who is in the kitchen. She's undercover as a dinner lady.
Well, we cut to lunchtime and the Doctor's in the dinner queue being served slop. And then you just
It's
see...
like prison gruel.
And then he pans up and Rose's face.
She looks very unhappy.
She's so pissed.
The Doctor looks quite pleased with his
With his outcome.
his alias.
Yeah.
Where Rose not so much.
What is it with the Doctor doing this, Doreen?
What do you mean?
Like in Family, is it Family of Blood?
Oh, when Martha's a maid.
Yeah, Martha's a maid and the Doctor's a
the
teacher.
again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm going to have the fun role and you're going to have the role that sucks.
See, again, 10th Doctor being vain and arrogant.
Yeah.
And then we get humble little Capaldi. Yeah, I'll be the janitor.
Yeah.
I'll be the caretaker.
I love him.
Yeah.
Sorry. We're not
And
talking
Matt
about
Smith
him.
worked in the shop. Yeah.
Yeah, I would love somebody.
I can't
please.
imagine Eccleston going undercover.
No,
Can
somebody
you imagine the
please
ninth Doctor
make
being a teacher?
no. Somebody make his CV, please.
In Gallifreyan.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
okay, not that much. I couldn't read it.
Yeah. So yeah, Rose is a dinner lady. She doesn't look happy. The Doctor's having his school dinner. He's sort of sat by himself at the table, and she comes over, and she basically complains that they've been there 2 days investigating, and she's just basically being a dinner lady. He says, "Hey, blame your boyfriend." We find out that Mickey basically told them something weird was going on. He gave them the heads up, so that's why they're there. The Doctor says that everyone is kind of unusually well behaved.
Happy slappy goodies with asbos. That's what he thought they would be. What does that mean?
I mean, say it again.
Happy slappy goodies with asbos. Now the asbos, yeah.
Yeah.
But what the hell is a happy slappy goodie?
This is what's weird, right? How the 10th Doctor knows what an asbo is, yet the 11th Doctor doesn't know how to walk and talk at the same time. The 11th Doctor has no social awareness. Yeah, the 10th, I get it, some are going to be more, I don't know, chatty and more sort of outgoing than others, but the fact that, all of the Doctor's, pop culture knowledge just disappears into his next incarnation.
Mate, It's a new man walking off with memories.
Hey, yeah. So yeah, the doctor says everyone is unusually well behaved. He also says there's something odd about the chips. They taste funny. Rose says they're gorgeous.
They all look gorgeous.
They just look like...
Look sad.
They look like the kind of chips you get from a Chinese.
Oh yeah, not good.
Yeah, they don't look great.
I want the crispy triple cooked.
You either want triple cooked, like good like pub grub chips, or you want just salted French fries, don't you? You don't want this sad state. I
hate like the really chunky. Even if they're triple cooked, I hate the chunky ones. I want like the little thin crispy.
Well, no, chunky chips are good.
Yeah, but like the thinner chips.
What the thinner chunky chips? What are you talking about?
Like the side, when you cut a potato.
Yes.
Obviously, it's rounded.
Yes.
So you get like the little slither on the side, which is slightly curved.
Yeah.
Them.
You don't like those.
I like them.
You like it. Oh, you like those.
I don't want the center of the potato. Right. I want the sides of the potato.
You don't like your chips too square.
No.
Okay.
I want more crispy.
Curvature.
More curvature. More crispy.
Whatever floats your boat, I guess. At this point, the head dinner lady shows up and kind of like scolds Rose for talking to the teacher.
Yeah.
She goes, he doesn't like the chips. The head dinner lady says that the school menu's been designed by Mr. Finch to improve concentration and performance.
That's working.
Yeah, I guess. So Rose and the head dinner lady leave, and she's like, I hate you. And he's like, I'll have the crumble. So, yeah.
And his little face, he's just sitting there, just like,
Yeah, he knows he's getting on a right doodle pip.
Yeah, he's pushing his luck, and he knows it.
Yeah. So at this point, we meet another teacher, Mr. Wagner. He's your favourite. He's the hammiest actor.
Honestly, I find this with Doctor Who, right? Not always, but at least 2 episodes a season.
Mm-hmm.
Some random actor is just hamming it up, and it's just
he doesn't know what tone they
don't know the tone, and it's just too much. And this is one of them.
Said this episode isn't that camp, but this guy is.
Yeah,
100%. Mr. Wagner, he's the black teacher he's got like a goatee.
No.
Or a beard or something?
No, I think he's clean shaven.
Is he?
Yeah.
Maybe I just imagined a goatee on this guy. Maybe he's so cartoonishly evil, I thought he should have a goatee, maybe.
I think he'd suit a goatee in general. Like, for example, another person, even though they are the main thing, is the Rachnos. This is too much.
Hey, no, I like the Rachnos. So Mr. Wagner is in the cafeteria. He approaches Melissa, one of the students. He says Milo has failed him, so she's been moved to the top of the class.
Yeah.
That's actually in reference to a scene that was cut, which is, when the doctor's questioning Milo. Apparently he asks him so many questions that Milo just collapses.
Oh.
So the doctor takes him to the school nurse, and the nurse turns out to be a Krillitane.
And then eats him.
Presumably, yes. So when Mr. Wagner is referring to the fact that Milo failed him, I guess that's what that was in reference to.
Yeah.
The fact that he passed out, I guess. But that scene was cut.
And then was eaten.
Yeah, but that scene was cut, so now we don't really know what that means, but okay. He also calls another student, a kid called Luke, to come to him, but not Kenny.
Poor Kenny.
Well, that's the thing. Kenny's a little overweight, so he's not allowed to eat the chips.
Oh.
So all the other kids are just super brainy, and Kenny's just a normal kid.
Yeah.
And I feel kind of bad for Kenny.
I feel bad for Kenny. He just wants to join in with everybody.
Happy, slappy, what?
Happy, slappy, goody.
Goody with Asper.
With Asper.
That's Kenny.
Yeah.
So the doctor sees all of this happening, and he catches Mr. Finch watching the cafeteria, almost stalking. Is that the right word? He's kind of just standing there, just like watching everything. He's like a predator. Do you know what I mean? Just like. So in the kitchen, Rose is watching the other kitchen staff kind of bringing in this massive like barrel.
I've literally said, could they make this look more toxic? Like you think
It looks like radioactive waste.
You'd think they'd cover up the symbols. And the fact that obviously I'm assuming the oil has come from the krillitanes.
Or from their bodies.
Yeah.
But it's toxic to them.
But it's krillitane oil. Didn't the doctor say it's from them, but their own bodies have changed so much that it...
Do you reckon the oil is from like a previous evolution of them?
Maybe. But the fact that they've literally slapped like a sticker in their own language or some random language on the side in neon green to make it look so toxic.
Yeah.
Imagine a set like somebody coming in to like do food safety and they're like, "What's that?"
Jamie Oliver.
Yeah. What's that? It's just a cooking oil.
Jamie Oliver comes in to ban some Yazoos and he's like, what is this?
This school is not a Jamie Oliver school.
No,
they're having chips. That's not going to happen.
Yeah. So yeah, the dinner ladies are bringing in this gigantic barrel. One of them says, don't spill a drop. At this point, Rose, her phone rings. It's Mickey on the other end. And he's telling her about UFO activity he's discovered in the area.
Yeah, Mickey's looking into the army records. My question is nobody keeping an eye on Mickey?
Who?
The government? Do you mean he's just...
Have they still not changed their password?
He's just allowing himself into any of, like,
Is the
top
password
secret...
still Buffalo?
Is it Buffalo for all the security, all security sectors? Like,
it's funny because it's satire. Yeah. No, so this is when they have a bit of a, I don't know, she's like, oh, did you just call me here because you wanted me back? And he's like, well, you think I do that? And she's like, well, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I literally said Rose checks to see if Mickey's still interested in her.
Oh, she's so toxic.
She is.
Yeah. So Mickey's looking at like UFO sightings in the area, but his online investigations are being blocked by something called Torchwood. Ooh. So Rose tells Mickey that the kitchen staff were all replaced 3 months ago. At this point, the massive, comically large barrel sort of like slips and it spills the contents onto one of the staff members, who falls over, seemingly burning, and is just screaming.
I love this scene. It's one of my favourite things. Is the fact that when they obviously shuffle her into like the side office.
Yeah, they take her into her room and Rose like
tries to call an ambulance. She hangs
up on Mickey and tries to call an ambulance, and the head dinner lady's like, "No, it's all right. She's quite all right."
No. The woman screams and she goes, "It's fine." She does that. It's like, what? I'd also like to mention that Rose hangs up on Mickey as Mickey's talking about, "I wouldn't call you to just spend time with you because whenever I do that and I want to do that, something happens."
An emergency happens.
And then she hangs up on him. She's like, "Gotta go."
Yeah.
Poor Mickey.
So yeah, at this point, Rose looks at the barrel and it's leaking like a golden kind of oily. It looks like olive oil.
Yeah.
It's just like a
it does.
thick kind of oily substance, I guess. So in the maths classroom, your favourite, Mr. Wagner, he tells the children at the computers to put on their headphones, and then the screens go green, and they have this kind of like rotating cube that's like spinning around, and there's a bunch of like alien-looking symbols and text scrolling around, and they're just they're doing that like 90s noughties hacking thing where they are just racking like keys on the keyboard really fast, and they're supposedly typing.
This scene makes me laugh so much because the music is just too much.
It's weirdly hardcore. It's really epic, and it's just kids typing on this.
It reminds me of Death Note.
I thought the same thing.
When Light is writing into the notebook, and he's lifting up the pen.
Yeah, I thought exactly the same thing. This really like dramatic operatic music, and he's just there like scribbling in a notebook. Yeah,
just kids just typing on their computers.
Yeah.
It just makes me laugh.
It's weird that we both thought of that comparison. Yeah. Yeah. So at this point, we cut to Mr. Finch, who is showing a journalist, that's Sarah Jane Smith, around the school. Apparently, Sarah's been assigned to write a profile on him. So he's explaining, his policies, including the fact that he's made school dinners free for everybody, but they're compulsory. He leads her into the staff room where the doctor is talking to Mr. Parsons, the head of history, who tells him that the students have gotten way more intelligent since Finch became the headmaster. He says one student gave him the exact height of the wall of Troy in cubits. What's a cubit? Do you know what a cubit is?
No.
No?
No.
I thought you might know that, but yeah, I have no idea what a cubit is, but is it big or small? I assume small. Because otherwise it wouldn't be impressive, would it? It's like, can you give me the height of the wall of Troy in vans? It's like, how many double-decker buses is the wall of Troy? And like, I don't know, 3?
I mean, either way, I think I'd be impressed. I don't know how tall it is.
I guess. Yeah. But then if you said, like, if you could tell me, like, how many marbles tall it is or something, like, that'd be more impressive, wouldn't it? Yeah. Anyway, the day after Finch arrived, 7 teachers came down with the flu, and they were replaced with new ones that were all a bit weird. In the doctor's case, the former physics teacher resigned when she won the lottery, even though he said that was odd because she never played. The ticket was posted through her door at midnight. And the doctor's like, yeah, that's weird.
I want to know what's going on there.
What do you mean?
I want to know more about that situation. The doctor has obviously got a ticket.
Yeah.
That he knows
is the winning one.
Is the winning one. Is that allowed? Is he allowed to do that?
I mean, he does it again with Donna later.
Oh yeah, of course he does.
It's the 10th Doctor, see?
Naughty.
Here's what I'm thinking, though, is before he does this, that ticket belonged to someone else.
Yeah.
So I want to know whose life...
Well, not necessarily.
...has been turned upside down, who had this winning ticket and had this lovely life, and the Doctor forced them to live in squalor so he could go undercover at this school.
Not necessarily. He could have picked a week that nobody won.
I guess.
So there wasn't a rollover.
But that means whoever does win next wins less money.
Yeah, but do you mean still a couple mil in it?
I guess. Look at you, the optimist.
Yeah. I'm hoping for the best option for this doctor, but yours is probably more likely.
Yeah. So Mr. Finch brings Sarah into the staff room, and immediately upon seeing her, the doctor's like all smiles. He introduces himself as John Smith. She says, "I once knew a man who went by that name." And she asks him if he's seen anything odd about. And yeah, they have this kind of like cute interaction, I guess.
Yeah, I love the look he's giving her. It's like a proper big grin, and it's one of those things that it's probably genuine because Tennant is such a big Doctor Who fan. He's probably like, "Oh my god, it's Sarah Jane."
Yeah. Yeah. I thought you were going to say it's one of those things that looks really cute and sweet from our perspective, but if you were in the room with him, you'd think he's a lunatic.
Probably. But I like the fact...
Or a simp.
Well, I like the... Well, yeah. But I also like the fact that it could sound really condescending. Because he's like, "Oh, you're looking into it. Good for you. Good for you." And it's like he means it so genuinely, but... She's probably, can you imagine if she...
You're way too enthusiastic for a man I just met.
Yeah, he's like, "Good for you." It's like, thanks, okay,
yeah.
I guess.
So at this point, the Doctor's kind of like wandering the halls, and Kenny goes into the math room because he can hear like a noise going on in there, and he looks under the desk and he sees a big bat creature.
I've noted here, which, again, it comes on later as well. Is it just me, or do they look very similar to the Reapers from Father's Day? They've got a similar style.
I mean, the Reapers do kind of look like bats.
But even, like, the facial features kind of thing, it's quite... big eyes and, like, long faces.
I don't think so with the face, But I guess with them both being somewhat bat-like, I guess there would be natural comparisons. But in general, I don't think they look like the Reapers.
But I was wondering whether...
I think the Reaper's face actually looks more like the Sycorax mask.
Really?
Yeah.
But I was wondering, wouldn't it have been cool if they had taken on the Reapers? Like,
there's no way a Krillosane could kill a Reaper, surely.
who knows?
Big finish. Go on.
Make it happen.
Yeah. So Kenny sees the big bat boy under the desk, and he stands up in panic, and the bat thing seemingly turns into Mr. Wagner. Your favourite.
He's like, go away.
Yeah. He tells Kenny to leave. He's like, this isn't your class, Kenny.
Oh,
And,
poor Kenny.
Kenny freaks out and runs away.
And tells no one.
Apparently, yeah.
To
I mean,
be
who would
fair.
believe him?
Yeah. Mr. Wagner's a big bat. They'd be like, all right, Kenny.
Yeah. So at this point, we fast forward and we cut to nighttime, and Sarah is breaking into the school as Rose, Mickey, and the Doctor are kind of doing the same.
Yeah.
The Doctor sends Mickey to the maths department. He sends Rose to get a sample of the oil from the kitchens, and he says he's going to check the headmaster's office. He says, all right, team, meet back here in 10. Well, he says, all right, team. Ooh, I don't like team. Gang. Comrades. And he gives up, which is, I appreciate that more because I just know that 13 would have just said, all right, fam. And that, less said about that, the better. So Sarah's trying to break into Mr. Finch's office, and she can hear some kind of spooky sounds going on. I think she thinks she's being watched or something.
It's like a screeching sound,
Yeah.
isn't it?
So she walks into a different area and into the gym, I think it is. And she enters a storeroom, and she's very freaked out because she bumps into the TARDIS.
Yeah.
And we get that little ooh,
Aww.
weird, like, haunted version of the Doctor's theme. Yeah, so she backs out of the room, back into, like, the gymnasium, and the Doctor's standing there behind her, all ominous.
Yeah. Again.
Because his big smile is just gone now, and he's just staring at her, just, like, deadpan.
It's good that she's pretty switched on.
Yes.
And she's like, it's you, and not, oh God,
Well,
why is the teacher here?
Well, that's the thing, yeah, because she turns around and he's looking at her deadpan and he goes, hello, Sarah
Sarah
Jane.
Jane.
But it's like, well, no matter who he is, he'd know your name because you've introduced yourself to everyone. He could be one of the monsters.
Yeah.
Hello, Sarah Jane. Wah! That's the end of Sarah Jane Smith.
Oh, that was such a bad way to go.
Yeah, but she says, it's you. The Doctor, she says, you've regenerated. He says half a dozen times since we last met, which, fun thing about that, not technically the right number, but retrospectively it is.
Yeah. Obviously with the
addition of the War Doctor, it now is half a dozen times.
I really like this scene.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's like quite sad, but I like it because she was saying like how good he looks.
Yeah.
And he was like, you look great too, and she's like, I got old.
Yeah, I got old. And he
And
doesn't,
I'm like,
he doesn't try to
oh.
console her. He doesn't say, doesn't matter, or no, you don't. He just doesn't say anything.
Just ignores it. She's like, yep.
Yeah. She says she waited for him and she thought he died. He says, I lived, everybody else died. So they're having this like serious like heart to heart until they hear like a loud high pitched scream. So the two run towards the sound. On the way they bump into Rose. The Doctor introduces Sarah Jane and Rose to each other. Sarah makes a kind of snide remark about Rose being young.
Oh.
She says like, you can tell you're getting old, your companions are your assistants are getting younger. And she's like, I'm not his assistant. The high-pitched scream turned out to be Mickey, who opened a cupboard and got covered in shrink-wrapped rats. There's that funny thing where he was like, oh, they fell on top of me. And the Doctor went, so you screamed? He's like, oh yeah, they're rats. And he's like a girl. I'm picturing 9, 10 pigtails.
I like this interaction with Rose and Sarah Jane.
I don't.
It's so cutting. It's
women are awful to each other, man.
yeah.
Yeah. Because Sarah tries to suggest that the rats must be for dissection, but then she again makes this like snappy remark at Rose, saying like, "Oh, have you not got to that bit of school yet?"
Yeah, she's like, "How old are you again?" And then Rose is like, "They haven't done dissection in years."
Yeah, where are you from? The Dark Ages. Yeah. So I mean, like,
it's like, oh god,
it's one of those things. Rose is awful, but Sarah started this.
She did, yeah. But Rose carries on. She's like
Rose. I feel like Sarah Jane does it out of a place of like hurt.
Yeah.
Like she feels like she's been replaced.
Yeah.
Where Rose is just spiteful.
Well, yeah, and also it's jealousy, isn't it? She thinks that someone's coming back into the Doctor's life, and the way the Doctor reacts with her.
Yeah.
I mean, they're walking down the hall, and she's like, "So exactly who are you? The Doctor's never mentioned you before."
Yeah, he's like, "Yeah, I have lots of times." Yeah. She's like, no, not once.
And then Sarah Jane's like, "You've never mentioned me." And then my favourite line from Mickey, "Oh, mate, the missus and the ex, every man's worst nightmare."
Oh, it's true.
It's true. I will say, though, later on, I actually think is every man's worst nightmare. Probably, more likely.
Well, them actually getting on.
Your missus and your ex getting on and making fun of you, yeah. I think that's dangerous, that is, because your ex is going to tell your missus why.
Oh, no.
Why you broke up.
Yeah. So at this point, they're heading towards Finch's office. The Doctor suggests that the rats might be like food for something. And when they get inside, they find the large bat-like creatures hanging from the ceiling asleep. He says, "Hey, Rose, you know how you said when you were younger you thought teachers used to sleep in the school? Well, they do." And yeah, there's a whole bunch of them just hanging upside down vampire style.
Yeah.
Just chilling. Mickey gets a bit freaked. So he like backs out and they kind of follow suit. At this point, one of them wakes up and just jump scares the camera.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's no one in the room at that point, but the one of the creatures just goes, "Wah!" That sounds like James Brown then. I feel good. Yeah, so the Doctor says that when Finch arrived at the school, he brought 12 staff members with him. So they've got 13 giant bat people to deal with. So he's going to go head back into the danger, I guess, so he can use the TARDIS to analyse the oil sample that Rose got. But Sarah Jane says, "No, wait, come over here." And she leads him over to her car, and she opens up the boot, pulls this kind of cover out of the way, and she reveals she's got K9.
Oh, and he's looking worse for wear, bless him.
Oh, no, he's not.
I mean, he is.
K9.
He hasn't got a side panel, and he's covered
like C-3PO.
He's covered in rust, and he doesn't work. Bless him.
The Doctor says like he's cutting edge for like 51st century or whatever. They don't have like rust-proof metal that far into the future.
Apparently not.
Yeah. Yeah, so more specifically, he's K9 Mark III. Sarah says that one day he just stopped working and she couldn't repair it for what I thought were obvious reasons, but the Doctor still is like, "Oh, you just let him die." I guess kind of like a fun fact about this is that the K9 prop used in this episode was a refurbished version of the original radio-controlled unit that was built for The Invisible Enemy, which is one of the classic Who stories.
Yeah.
So this wasn't like a rebuilt prop. This was one of the original models.
Oh,
So
that's sweet.
That's kind of
I wonder
cute.
if this model was used in Sarah Jane Adventures. I'm assuming so. Because obviously if you're going to make one, you might as well, or if you have one, you might as well move it over.
I guess it depends on what it's doing, because it's not really in Sarah Jane that much, is it? In the Sarah Jane Adventures, K9, I think he's in the first episode, he's like in that weird like portal.
Yeah.
And then he's just
looking
not
after
there.
the black hole.
Yeah.
And he's
just looking after the black hole.
He pretty much just moves his head up and down and flashes his lights. Affirmative.
Affirmative. Yeah, and he doesn't really do much. But I wouldn't be surprised if at some point they rebuilt him, because I think he's in Stolen Earth and Journey's End as well. But famously, the K9, like radio controlled K9 unit from the original series, was prone to not working.
Yeah.
So they take it on set somewhere, and Doctor Who famously would like film like quarries and stuff.
Yeah.
And K9 would just like not be able to traverse the
terrain.
Thank you.
You're
They would like try it, and he'd get like sand or whatever stuck up in the gears, and he would just basically not work.
Oh.
Which I think the reason why they stopped using, like they wrote him out in the classic series, is because the model was just a pain in the arse to use.
Saying that though, they probably kept the shell of him and then tweaked.
Yeah, maybe upgraded
the inner workings,
the motor and stuff. Yeah, maybe. So yeah, they go to a nearby like cafe, and the doctor's just got K9 up on a table. I love the thought of like whoever was like running this cafe.
I'm like, what is that?
I don't know what that guy's doing, but okay. So the doctor's trying to like repair K9. Mickey's teasing Rose at this point.
Oh, he's brutal. I love it. This is so bitchy, this episode.
Go on. What does he say, Shal?
Well, he's talking about how you understand how it feels now.
Yeah.
That the doctor has somebody else, and the way he looks at her and the way he's treating her.
Yeah.
And that, how do you feel to be replaced? And then Rose eats some chips, and he was like, if I was you, what was it? If I were you, I'd go easy on the chips. Ouch. The fact that she literally mid-mouth, like putting them into her mouth, and she's just like, oh. Like the sadness on her face.
Yes. Well done, Mickey. Put her in her place. Yeah. Yeah. Sarah asks the doctor if she did something wrong because he never came back for her.
Yeah.
He kind of tries to brush it off. Like he says, I told you I couldn't take you to Gallifrey on those days. And she says, yeah, but you never came back for me. And he says, well, you were getting on with your life. And she says that you were my life. And so she asks him why he didn't come back. And he doesn't answer.
No. Typical 10.
At this point, K9 comes back to life.
Yeah.
Actually recognises the doctor. He goes, Master. And he goes, oh, he recognises me. He goes, affirmative.
Oh. He's like, oh, good boy. Give it a little.
Yeah, he's giving him a little scritches.
Yeah.
He put some of the Krillitane oil on K9's little...
Well,
what do you call it?
Scanner?
Plunger.
Yeah, it's like one of those.
It looks like when you're a kid and you get like a bow and arrow toy, and you know that arrows have those weird little like sucker plunge things that are like intended, like if you shot like a glass window, it would stick to it. It looks like one of them.
Again, different reaction. I was gonna say the things like a little plastic disc thing that you stick to a window and you like lick it to make sure it's got a good seal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So sorry, go on.
I like this because the doctor opens the tub.
Yeah, the jar with the oil in it.
Of the oil.
Yeah.
And then Rose is like, oh, don't touch it. It's corrosive.
Yeah, it says that she says the dinner lady got burnt.
Yeah, the doctor's like, it's fine.
He goes, I'm no dinner lady.
And just puts his finger in. And then, if you notice, Rose gets some on her hands and then just licks her finger. Which I wonder if that's where she got the... It's not the chips.
The big brain. It's the bit she licked.
It's the bit she licked.
Yeah. K9 scans the oil and he determines it is Krillitane oil. So this is when the doctor gives us our bit of exposition. He says that the Krillitanes are a species who take the best physical parts of the other species that they conquer. So how we are kind of like, us Brits are part Viking, part, Saxon, part French and all that stuff. They're the same, but they actually take physical components. So assumedly at some point they conquered a race that had wings and they somehow inherited the wings. This is why the doctor said, this is when he says, that's why I didn't recognize them, because last time I saw them, they just looked like humans with long necks. Now I'm just trying to picture like a man with a long giraffe neck.
How do they take on?
I don't know.
Also, that analogy isn't very good, is it? With the... I mean, it's good in the sense because it helps you kind of work it out. But as Brits, I mean, majority of those which she mentioned actually conquered us.
To be fair, he does kind of preface that by saying civilizations that you've conquered or conquered you.
Yeah.
He does
mention.
He does
Fair
clarify
enough,
that.
I was going to say, because most of the ones he lists, it's like, well, they got us.
Yeah, so this is when he kind of realizes that they must be doing something to the children. This is when we cut to Mickey
and Sarah.
And Sarah by the car.
What's the deal with the tin dog?
Yeah, not a lot happens in the scene other than the fact that Mickey realizes that he's the tin dog.
Well, yeah.
He's like, I'm the man in the van. I'm surveillance. Oh, good God, I'm the tin dog.
And she's like,
Yeah. So as they're leaving the cafe, Rose is kind of struggling to come to terms with the fact that she's obviously not the first person that the Doctor has travelled with. She tells the Doctor that he never mentioned Sarah, even though they clearly were very close at one point.
I think I like this because she starts with the question of how many of us have there been?
Yeah.
And I think I just think it's an interesting question, do you know what I mean? Not often, I don't think...
I can tell you, 32.
I mean, I didn't ask, but okay.
You did ask.
No. Rose asked.
Yeah.
But thank you. At this point or in general?
32 up to this point. By school reunion, 32 companions.
Christ.
Yeah.
Or more. We don't know.
It depends on your definition of companion, doesn't it?
Does this include... Is this just TV or...
Yeah, this is just in the TV series. Yeah.
But I think it's quite interesting because I don't think, as far as I can remember, this question's asked many times. I don't think I know...
Not really. Because, again, I think it's one of those things, the more you try to address the past, the more you open yourself up for continuity errors.
Yeah.
But yeah, because she says... I say she can't really get over the fact that she wasn't the first one.
No, and the fact that she was like, this is just what you do. You just leave us. Am I? And she says, is this a glimpse into my future?
Yeah, are you going to leave me like you leave all the others? And he says, no, not you.
Which, ouch, poor Sarah.
But it's funny, though, because, like I say, she says you leave everyone else. Like, you just get bored of us and you dump us and leave us.
I like this bit. I like the character development.
But I do find it funny because I did write down that... out of 32 companions up to this point, only 4 have been left behind.
Yeah, most of them die.
One of them is Sarah Jane, and the other 3 are Susan, the Doctor's granddaughter, and first companion, and the other 2 are Jack and Adam.
And the rest of them leave.
The rest of them either leave of their own free will or perish.
Yeah. Well, I think it's interesting because I like this little scene, how the Doctor explains that obviously... He loves his companions.
Yeah.
But, as he says, humans decay. And he doesn't, and he has to watch that. So...
He says he didn't go back for Sarah because it would have been too hard. He says, I don't age, I regenerate, but humans decay. You wither and you die. You can spend the rest of your life with me, but I can't spend the rest of mine with you. I have to live on alone. That's the curse of the Time Lords.
I think that's so sad.
Yeah.
But it's true. Do you wonder if the Doctor notices his companions aging that much? And do you think he gets to a point where he's like, you've spent a significant amount of time with me and you've missed a point of your life, and now I think it's time for me to put you back so you can actually live your life?
That's a nice thought, and I think it would be nice to think... Some doctors, I think, would think that way. I don't know if 10's one of them.
No.
But I think, to address, do you think the Doctor notices his companions getting old? My answer is no, based purely on the fact that he couldn't tell the difference between young Clara and old Clara.
I know, I was thinking the same thing, yeah.
Yeah.
But then that was a dream.
Yeah, but he still has, it's still him. But, yeah. So upon hearing the phrase Time Lords, Mr. Finch, who's been eavesdropping on this conversation...
Oh, the way he's standing on that roof.
I know, it looks like a matte painting or something.
Oh, I'm not on about how... Well, it's funny how he's just standing there, but I'm on about when he's like...
Like crouched down like a gargoyle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's sat next to the Krillitane and it's just so funny.
Yeah. He's got another Krillitane with him and he sends them to attack. I don't really get this bit because he sends the Krillitane to attack and it swoops down and is it Mickey? Someone says something like, why did you do that? He swooped down. And then they just never really address it. Like, it doesn't lead to anything. It's just kind of a weird bit.
When I originally saw this, I thought it was going to swoop down and try and take something from the Doctor. You know, say how they say they conquer and they take a part of it.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah,
I thought,
get like a bit of genetic material.
Yeah,
like, here.
Yeah, or something like a scratch him or something to kind of. That's what I thought.
Maybe they'd have won if they did that.
Maybe, I thought that's what
the ability to regenerate would be a pretty good thing to inherit, wouldn't it?
Yes, but then what happened to them? Don't think they could have regenerated from that.
One of them they could have done a master and just become a big worm.
Oh. Is this a thing? That
Crispy Krillitane.
Oh no.
Yeah. So anyway, next day at the school, the Doctor sends Rose and Sarah to look what's inside the computers, and he tells Mickey to stay in the car with K9 as surveillance. This is a job that Mickey a little later describes as being sent back to the class with the safety scissors and glitter.
Yeah.
I like Mickey quite a lot.
I do.
I know in the beginning of Series 1, like in Rose particularly, like Mickey's like a bit of a... He's just a bit of a wet flannel and he's just... He's kind of hopeless. He's a little cringe, a little annoying, but I like Mickey's character arc quite a lot.
Yeah, he's actually grown into himself, isn't he?
He's more confident in himself. He's more comfortable with his dynamic in this relationship.
He doesn't rely on Rose for everything. He's not just like a offcut of Rose anymore. He's his own
Well, that's what I mean.
person.
This whole thing about him like being annoyed or being upset that he's the tin dog doesn't come from the place of he wants to like impress Rose or he wants to I don't know, be an equal to these two. I think it's more so he knows that in himself he can be better. He's got more potential than just being the surveillance guy. So I think that's kind of growth in and of itself because he knows he can do better rather than he's just trying to look good for Rose. Yeah. So the Doctor at this point confronts Mr. Finch at the swimming pool. I just want to say, because I thought about this earlier and I worry that I'll forget. Anthony Head.
So good, isn't he?
He's good in this.
He's so good.
Yeah.
I mean, what did I see him in before this? Was he in Casualty or Holby or something?
Do I look like someone that watches either of those?
I mean, I don't either, but in the day, I did.
Right.
I can't remember what he was
Well, in the day, I didn't.
Oh, well, you missed out.
I know he's in the In-Betweeners movie.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
I'll look now.
You're gonna Google what you know Anthony Head from.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's say he's really good.
I've just typed head.
Gotta be careful. Make sure you have safe search on. Yeah. He's really good in like scenes like this where he's clearly trying to like persuade and tempt the Doctor over to his side.
Yeah.
And I think he comes across like I see why someone could kind of fall for that here because he is quite persuasive and quite charming. But then a little later on when he's just kind of like screeching and you know when he does the face, you know the face I mean where he's like he just opens his mouth and he's got his teeth out and he's like proper like giving it all. I think Anthony Head's like great in this.
I can't believe this. He's in neither Casualty or Holby. Do you know what he's in?
What?
He's in Merlin.
Oh, well, there you go. That's what you know him from.
He's from Merlin. Of course he is. He's the king.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I was like, I know this man.
I've never actually watched an episode of Merlin.
It's so good.
I've seen shots.
I've seen all of it. I love Merlin. I used to watch it all the time as a kid.
Yeah, because you got Jethro and you got the War Doctor.
Yep, and you've got
Mr. Fidge.
that's a
Oh, and Richard Wilson, isn't he? Dr. Constantine. Isn't he in that too?
Yes, he's Merlin's friend. Mentor?
Mastor?
Yeah.
Mastor?
Master.
I can't talk today. Yeah. So, yeah, the two kind of confront each other at the swimming pool. Mr. Finch confirms that he is a Krillitane. He's... I'm not going to lie, I'm not sure if I heard it right. I think he said his name is Brother Larsa.
Something like that, yeah.
Larsa? Something like that. And he says that the wings are a recent addition to their form. What the Doctor sees as human is just a morphic illusion, is how he phrases it. He says he's surprised to see a Time Lord. He says that he always thought that they were a race of pompous, dusty senators afraid of change and chaos.
Honestly, fair.
Yeah,
I think
much.
that's pretty
Pretty
good.
accurately describes them.
Yeah, the more this man speaks, I'm like, he's got a point.
That's what I mean. He's
He's
charming.
right.
He's charming. He's good at tempting you over.
Yeah.
Yeah. But now they're all but extinct.
Yeah.
But he senses the Doctor is different. He says, yeah, that's what he thought the Time Lords were like. But he says, there's something new about you.
Yeah. He said your people were very peaceful.
Yeah.
He said, but...
And he kind of like challenges the Doctor to work out his plan. And the Doctor says, basically says, I'm old now. I used to have so much mercy when I was younger. But this is your... now you get one warning. This is it. And yeah, he just walks away. And Finch says, we're not even enemies. But he says, next time we meet, you will join me. So upstairs, working on the computers with the sonic screwdriver,
the women are fighting.
Sarah Jane and Rosie are getting into an argument. They're just talking about what they've seen. Yeah. It's like, I've seen... what does Sarah start it with? She says, I've seen something. And Rose is like, I've seen ghosts. And it's like, I've seen something. I've seen Slitheen. Daleks met the Emperor. And they're just kind of going back and forth like this.
It's just like, I saw the Loch Ness Monster.
Goes, the Loch Ness Monster. And Rose just goes, what, really?
Yeah. Yeah, Rose says she's not threatened by her. Because Sarah Jane's, to be fair, she's trying to have an olive branch, isn't she?
Yeah.
She's like, look, I'm not coming back to take the Doctor away from you. I don't want this.
Yeah.
It's just nice to see him, and I just wanted to have a chat.
Yeah.
And Rose is not.
She's spicy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, at this point, I think they kind of realise that this is just stupid.
Yeah.
Because they say, like, look at us fighting over a man, and that man is the Doctor. This is the man who, like, barely even, like, recognises that we exist half the time. If we weren't here, he'd still just monologue to himself.
Yeah. He strokes the TARDIS.
Yeah, because Rose, I think Rose, like, kind of olive branches here out to Sarah, because she says, when you used to travel with him, did he do that thing where he talks at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and when you clearly don't understand, he looks at you like you just drooled on your shirt?
Yeah.
And she goes, yes. Oh, does he still do that thing where he strokes bits of the TARDIS? And she's like, yes. And they kind of like laugh at him. At this point, the Doctor comes into the room, and the two of them are just laughing at him.
And he's like, what? Stop it.
He goes, what? And then they're just like laughing and goes, stop it. And you know that bit where Rose like points at him with the Sonic in her hand? I know the reason like she points at him and they're like laughing there is on the opposite side of the camera, David Tennant wore a fake mustache to make him laugh. So that's why Billie Piper does that thing where she like points at him and starts like cracking up.
But yeah, again, I think this is like every man's worst nightmare in this, or every person's worst nightmare. Their partner and their ex-partner being like very pally.
Yeah, I think I'd rather them fight because they just wouldn't want to talk to each other.
Yeah.
It's easy to keep from different parts of your life separate.
Yeah, they're coming together and being like, isn't he silly?
Yeah. So at this point, Finch tells the other Krillitanes that they're moving to the final phase. What?
And then we go back to the tense music and the silly freaking speed typing.
Yeah. Even though it's break time, the intercom calls all pupils to class and the staff to the classroom. All the kids seem to be happy that break is over, except Kenny.
Yeah.
At this point, the Krillitanes go into the staff room with all the other staff and just eat them, I guess. Don't need them anymore, I suppose. In the maths classroom, the doctor finds the computers are all fixed with a deadlock seal. Finch in his office seals the exits. I don't know why the school has a button on his keyboard that seals the exits. Like it's a military base.
Yeah.
But yeah, all the fire doors just swing shut and lock, apparently. Mr. Wagner, your favourite, he activates the computer program again. That's the bit you were talking about. So the children can start working on the computers with the spinning green cube. Kenny's like running through the school, looking at all the windows, and he just sees all the kids seemingly like hypnotized. Yeah. So he just decides to go for a runner. He runs to like the main door, but he can't get out. The door won't open. Mickey sees him and tries to turn K9 back on. He's like pressing the buttons and nothing happens. And he just like bonks him on the head, and then K9 wakes up.
I mean, it's typical Doctor fashion, isn't it? If if he had a little rubber mallet, which he bonked him on the head, but it's just something the Doctor would probably do.
You say that. That's also you. Yeah. That's so you. Like, if you're using your phone freezes, you like start whacking it on the counter.
Well, not on the counter. I give it a little tap on the back. Come on, love. Wake up.
So K9 wakes up, and Mickey's asking if there's some way they can get through the doors. And he goes, "We are in a car." And he's like, "Do you have a drill or something?" He's like, "We are in a car." And he goes, "Oh, wait, we're in a car." So he shouts for Kenny to get out of the way, and he just smashes the car through the front doors. Sarah Jane's car as well.
It's not Sarah Jane's car.
I think it is. Is it not?
No, because Sarah Jane had that, I don't know what you call it, like a long white...
Like an estate car, yeah.
Whereas this is looks more like a Volkswagen Golf.
Does it?
Yeah, it's smaller. It's like a small grey car.
I'll have to rewatch this. He's got K9 in the boot, though.
Yeah, so?
No, okay.
By the way, if this is Mickey's... Another car of Mickey's. This boy goes through his cars.
Yeah. I mean, he's a mechanic.
Yeah, but still. Exactly, he's a mechanic.
No, yeah, I know where you're trying to take that, but to be fair, my dad was a mechanic for a long time, and he switched cars all the time.
I guess.
Mechanics...
I guess you see more. You see something coming, you're like, oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do, if this is
my brain would be like, if you're a mechanic, you think you'd have a car for a long time and you take care of it, but maybe not.
Yeah, no, if you're right and this is Mickey's car, then yes, this will be the third car we've seen Mickey own.
I mean, by his possible driving that we mentioned in Rose.
Yeah.
Maybe
he just writes them all off.
Maybe writes them off.
Oh man, he's got no claims bonus. His insurance premium is mental. He's definitely got a black box.
It's fine. He doesn't need the insurance. He just fixes it himself.
Yeah. So Rose, Sarah Jane, and the Doctor are watching the symbols kind of flash on the big screen. This is when the Doctor works out that the Krillitanes are trying to solve the Scasis paradigm.
He does the thing that they mentioned, that he does techno-babble, and then looks at them. And then Sarah Jane's like, what? What are you on about?
In English, please. So he explains that the Scasis paradigm is the God Maker, the universal theory. Whoever solves it can control the building blocks of the universe, all of time, space, and matter. And it's on a computer. Okay.
Well, I guess it's... I don't... Well, I wouldn't say it's on a computer.
It's on all the computers.
They're basically trying to build the Enigma machine, I'm assuming. Like a big code breaker.
Well, Alan Turing's Enigma machine.
That's what they're trying to do. The kids are using...
But they're not trying to crack German. They're trying to crack universal law.
Yeah. They're trying to crack a code.
Yeah. So yeah, the Krillitanes are basically using the children as like a giant processor, like a giant computer CPU, and they're using the oil to boost their intelligence. Rose says that the oil is on the chips that she's been eating. That's when the Doctor gives her like a math sum and she just gets the answer like straight away. Sarah asks why the Krillitanes are using children instead of adults. And the doctor says that the Godmaker needs imagination to be solved. He says they're not just using the children's brains to break the code, they're using their souls.
Which, how does that work? Don't question it.
I don't even know if imagination is linked to the soul, is it?
I don't know.
Sci-fi.
Yeah, screw knowledge. Imagination.
Knowledge, despite the statement, knowledge is not power.
No, imagination is.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, yeah.
So at this point, Finch reveals himself and he asks the Doctor to join him. He tempts the Doctor with the ability to change the universe, to save everyone, even restore the Time Lords. And the Doctor does seem genuinely kind of tempted, because he's like,
I put
I could stop the war.
a note down in this, which I thought would be interesting. What if this episode was moved back to series 4? Because I feel like if this had happened at the end of Ten's era, thank you, I feel like he probably would have said yes. After like the
I understand the
Waters of Mars, is that what I'm thinking of? That
era,
era,
the whole Time Lord Victorious thing, yeah. I understand the train of thought, but at the same time I feel like if this happened then, the Doctor would be so full of himself that he would just like kick Mr. Finch down a drain and just take the paradigm for himself.
But that's what I mean.
I don't think he would join him. I think he would overthrow him.
Yeah. Oh yeah, completely. But that's what I mean. I think he would do it. I think he would allow it to happen.
Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah.
I mean, he almost does here. If it isn't for our beloved Sarah Jane bringing the wisdom and about saying how obviously everything in the universe ends.
Yeah, so she tells him not to do it. Finch tries to tempt Sarah and Rose as well by saying, hey, you can travel with the Doctor forever, never growing old, never aging, never dying. But yeah, Sarah reminds the Doctor that pain and loss define them as much as happiness or love. She says everything has its time and everything ends, which is might even be word for word what the Ninth Doctor says to Rose in The End of the World about Cassandra.
Yeah. So
that's kind of fun, having that kind of like mirrored back at him. This is dumb, this bit. This is where the Doctor makes his mind up and he picks up a chair and throws it at the screen.
Yeah.
And then it like somehow causes the computers nearby to like explode.
Don't even get me started about this, because I'm about to mention that in the next blooming scene. Other than Kenny. Well, it's a little bit later than the next scene.
Yeah.
But
so the next scene I think is Mickey. Like I say, he's crashed the. No. Sorry. So yeah, I'm trying to run this through in my head. So Mickey's crashed the car into the school, and he runs back inside with Kenny. Finch calls the other Krillitanes, who all transform into their bat forms. Here, I did think it's funny that the one black guy is a different coloured Krillitane.
Oh no, is he?
Yeah, he's darker than the rest.
No.
They're all kind of like pink. But then Mr. Wagner he's just a black Krillitane, which I'm like, okay, sure, there can be different color Krillitanes, but I'm like, I don't know, I just assumed that the black teacher was just happened to be a form that he chose to take as when he was presenting human.
Yeah.
I didn't think like, oh no, I'm a dark Krillitane, so I have to be a dark human.
Oh, Christ.
Yeah, I just find that funny.
Just a different time, I guess. Well, sure, whatever.
Yeah, so Mickey and Kenny meet up with the others and they all run into the cafeteria. They're being chased by the Krillitanes. Finch says he wants the Doctor alive, but as for the others, you can feast. K9 appears in the doorway at this point and shoots one of the Krillitanes with a laser. The Doctor basically tells K9 to hold them off while they run away. This is when Finch says, ignore the shooty dog thing.
Forget the shooty dog thing. I've put down, I don't know whether this is a good line or a terrible line.
Well, that line?
Yeah.
I love it.
This is either tripe or brilliant.
I love
I
that.
can't decide which one it is.
I love it. I think it's very funny.
Because I feel like...
Forget the shooty dog thing.
Like, I don't know whether it's better the fact that that's his reaction, or whether we should have had, something a bit more thought out than shooty dog thing.
I love it. I think it's great.
Of course you do.
Yeah, so in the physics lab, physics. The doctor realizes that the solution is the oil. He says the krillitanes have changed their physiology so often that even their own oil is toxic to them now. So they start bashing down the door. So the doctor tells Mickey to go get the children. Kenny just triggers the fire alarm because the doctor's like, what can we do? How can we fight against bat things? And Kenny triggers the fire alarm, and obviously the noise just like, they don't like it. And the doctor's like, immediately like, yeah. I should have thought of that. So they run past, and Finch like punches a hole in the wall and rips out the power cables. I don't know how he knows where the leads for the fire alarm are, like in the wall.
Imagine if he just pulled out like the wrong cable, or
he just turned off the Wi-Fi. Yeah.
Oh, there wasn't Wi-Fi in those days.
He killed the dial-up.
Oh no.
Yeah, Mickey runs into the computer room with all the kids, and he yells for the children to leave, but none of them respond because they're all kind of like hypnotized. So this is when he looks up, and he sees like this classroom has what, like 30 computers in it, and the computers are all like weirdly cable managed like into one plug.
Plug.
How many extension leads are connecting these computers?
How is this plug running? How is it not on fire?
Yeah.
Because let's be fair, the processing speeds of these computers to be able to do whatever on earth these kids are doing, there's 30 of them. It's all going into one plug.
Yeah.
It's
a lot of
so
extension leads,
stupid.
baby. Big fire hazards.
It's so stupid.
Someone didn't do their training.
No.
Yeah. So Mickey like follows the cable along, and he just kind of looks at the plug and is like, oh.
And he pulls it out, and then
it sparks.
They just pew.
Yeah, the computers just like spark.
That's how it works.
That is how it works. Yeah.
This is so stupid.
But the kids get snapped out of their trances, and they all start to evacuate. In the kitchens, the doctor finds the barrels of oil, and he can't open them with the sonic because they're deadlock sealed. So he tells everyone else to get out, and he sits there with K9, and K9 tells the doctor that the barrels won't withstand. I'm going to start that sentence again. They won't withstand a direct hit from his laser, but he has to stay because his batteries are weak. The doctor says, no, you can't do that because you'll be caught in the explosion. But K9 basically says there's no other option. So the doctor has like a heartfelt goodbye. He calls him a good dog. He goes, affirmative.
Oh.
And
this still feels quite quick though.
You think?
Yeah, I feel like the doctor was like, "Oh no, don't do it." Okay, goodbye.
I guess he's a robot. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
There's a thing of
still.
like he's got an emotional attachment to it, but it's not the same thing as it would be like if he left Rose somewhere. Do you know what I mean? Because K9 is a machine that can be rebuilt.
Okay, well, answer this then. He then allows K9 to blow up all the krillitanes.
Yeah.
Is this ethical?
I mean, he did say to Finch, you get one chance.
Is that ethical though?
Well, the 10th Doctor's not an ethical person.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, yeah, Doctor calls him good dog, and he leaves. Sarah's like, where's K9? And the Doctor just grabs her and just pulls her away. At this point, Finch and the other krillitanes enter the kitchen. K9 shoots the barrel, and it spills oil over them all, and they're all like burning. And Finch says, you bad dog.
Affirmative.
Affirmative. The explosion essentially takes out a massive chunk of the school.
Yeah.
It looks like a terrorist attack's happened or something. Like it's just like a massive like explosion happens and takes out like a good chunk of the building.
And then the kids think...
The kids all start cheering because they're like, yeah, school's out, baby. And then what does Kenny say? Kenny says something that makes one of the girls think it was him.
I can't remember.
You might just like go, yes, or something like that. But
and she's like, did you have something to do with this? And he's like,
yeah, I did. And she goes, oh my God, everyone, Kenny blew up the school.
I put down, Kenny's life is ruined.
Yes, Kenny's definitely getting that aspo.
Because he's going more than an aspo. He freaking blew up a school.
He's going to prison.
He's going to juvie. He's going to juvie.
Yeah.
Poor Kenny.
And Sarah is crying over K9, and the doctor's obviously trying to comfort her. So we cut forward what I assume is either later that day or maybe the next day, I don't really know, but Sarah is walking in a park with the TARDIS is parked, and she walks inside. They have this kind of like, I don't know, pat on the back moment. The doctor suggests that Sarah Jane should join them, but she declines. She's like, nah, I got a spin-off to be in. So
exact words.
Yeah.
No, I respect
her exact
his
words
power
are,
move.
It's time I found a life of my own, is her exact words.
Yeah. She's like, oh, I'm getting too old for this.
Yeah.
Which is like, oh no.
Yeah. Mickey asks if he can join them.
Her face. He's like, huh? He's like, oh, not you.
Yeah. He's like, can I come? He looks at Sarah and goes, not you. I mean, with you. Looks at the doctor. And
Rose?
The doctor says, sure, I could do with a laugh.
Yeah. And then
he says he wants to be more than just the tin dog. He says he's ready to see the universe.
And the fact Sarah's so nice about it. She's like, yeah, you could do with another...
You could do with you need a Smith on board. Yeah.
And then Rose is just sulking.
Yeah, she's like, yeah,
proper
fine,
stropping.
Sure, whatever.
the Sarah Jane's like, okay, all right. Then leaves.
Just an awkward situation.
Yeah,
Yeah. Before Sarah goes, Rose kind of pulls her aside and she asks if she should stay with the doctor. Given the context of what happened to Sarah Jane and everything. And Sarah says that some things are worth getting your heart broken for.
Yeah.
But she does also say, someday, if you ever need to, come find me. So outside, Sarah Jane thanks the doctor for her time with him. The doctor says, like, oh, I never got a chance to ask, but he asks if there's anyone special in her life.
Yeah.
She says there was one man she travelled with for a while, but he was a tough act to follow.
Oh, and yeah.
She asked the doctor to say goodbye properly this time.
Yeah.
Because he says something like, oh, it's not goodbye. And she says, please, just
say goodbye this time.
Say goodbye this time. So he says, goodbye, my Sarah Jane.
And then gives her a big cuddle.
He smiles and gives her a big hug. He lifts her off the floor. Oh, he probably crunched it back.
Oh, a good click.
But that felt great, yeah. So yeah, he goes back inside. The TARDIS dematerializes. And Sarah watches it disappear. And as it does, a brand new K9 model is waiting behind it. And she says, oh, you're alive. And he basically says, yes, the doctor rebuilt me. I'm new and improved. And Sarah says, come on, let's go home. We have work to do.
No, she says something before that.
What else does she say?
She says, he replaced you with a brand new model. He does that. And then she says, let's go home.
Yeah. She says, we have work to do, which I don't know if this is intentional or not, but we have work to do was the final line of Survival, which was the last episode of Classic Who before the show got taken off the air, before it was cancelled.
Oh.
I think it's obviously the Seventh Doctor with Ace, and he says, come on, Ace, we have work to do. That was the final line. So I'm assuming that's a reference. If not, it's just a neat coincidence.
Or it's a what's it called? A kind of setup of like, we've got.
I mean,
work
it is
to
kind
do.
of foreshadowing the spin-off, I guess. But
Yeah.
it's one of those things where even if the Sarah Jane Adventures, like, I didn't watch the Sarah Jane Adventures as a kid, but I just assumed, especially because she comes back later in series 4, I just assumed that means, hey, she's off there doing her own thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's School Reunion. What do you think?
I really enjoy it. I think so far it's the best of series 2 that
By
we've
far.
watched. Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like the interaction with all the companions and the Doctor. I would like to have had a little bit more of the Krillitanes, but then I understand why we didn't, because this episode is very much companion.
Yeah,
Heavy.
the Krillitanes aren't really the focus, are they?
No, they're not. It's just it's a catalyst to get all these characters together.
Yeah. And yeah, I think all the character stuff is done really well.
Yeah.
I think having Rose and Sarah kind of be at odds with each other makes sense based on what we know from both of them. But yeah, I'm glad they kind of work things out in the end. But yeah, I like it quite a lot. I like Mickey in the story, because you always think of Sarah Jane, obviously, because it's like her first appearance in the revival. But like, I think Mickey does quite a lot for this story as well.
Well, this one little thing, I don't know whether it was meant to be that way, but I liked, was obviously Mickey was referred to himself as the Tin Dog.
Yeah.
But K9 literally saves the day.
Yeah.
And Mickey, obviously, well, with K9's help, crashes into the school and saves everybody.
Yeah.
So it's like
It's not
a recurring thing of like, even though they may be the Tin Dog, you know,
it doesn't mean you're
quote,
any less
if
important a member of the team.
no, and if anything, often you are one of the most important.
Yeah.
Because you look at
More important than the blonde who sits there asking questions.
Yeah, you look at World War III.
Yeah.
They wouldn't have lived without Mickey.
Yeah.
So
Ricky.
Oh.
Yeah. But yeah. Anything else you have to say about School Reunion?
One little interesting tidbit.
Tidbit.
I didn't watch this episode when it aired.
Right.
And I hadn't seen it until after Sarah Jane.
Right.
Because I had watched... Oh, I didn't watch it.
You watched Sarah Jane live, right?
Yeah, religiously.
Yeah.
It was constantly repeated on CBBC.
Yeah.
And I always watched it.
Mm-hmm.
So when we watched School Reunion, the first time I watched it without you, I watched it years before, I didn't realise Sarah Jane was in it.
Oh, really?
And it came up.
So you just thought you were watching an episode of Doctor Who and it just...
And I was like, huh. It's Sarah Jane.
That's funny, isn't it? Because that's, I guess, what the reaction most people would have had from the classic series.
Yeah.
But you had it from something that she appeared in afterwards. You literally had the kind of like inverse
effect
of what it was intended to have. But that's kind of cool, though, because you got to experience the same thing from a completely different perspective.
Because, again, Sarah Jane was my closest thing at the time, especially when I was younger, to getting into Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Again, at the time, I don't know why. When I was really young, I found Doctor Who too scary.
I think it's one of those things where Doctor Who would have aired on BBC One.
Yeah.
And then they didn't really replay it.
Yeah.
There were TV channels like Gold and stuff. They used to like do reruns, but it was on BBC One, and if you missed it, you missed it.
Yeah.
Where like CBBC, being for kids and not having as much content, I think just used to replay stuff often. So it's like even if you missed an episode, you probably watched the same episodes of like Tracy Beaker like a million times.
And Arthur. And Merlin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I loved.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember, because I'd seen the first season of Sarah Jane when it aired, and I loved it. And I remember each year waiting for the new season and then sitting down of an evening, because we had like we had the living room, and then there was like a little back room, which my parents would be like, well, you sit, it was a little TV in there, so I could sit in there and watch my TV shows if I wanted to have some time by myself. So it would come on like at 6:00, I think usually 5 or 6 o'clock, the new episode of Sarah Jane Adventures.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd go in there and watch it by myself and watch the new episode as it aired.
Oh, by yourself?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, sometimes Dad would join me, but he would be asleep.
Like you wouldn't have friends come over? You wouldn't watch it with friends?
No, none of my friends like Sarah Jane. Most of my friends like Disney, and we're watching Hannah Montana.
Oh, what a show.
I don't know, I'd never seen it.
It was good. I remember liking it. It was good.
I didn't have Disney.
Yeah.
I just had Freeview.
Do you know what time it is, Shal? It's trivia time.
I was going to say Chico.
Wow, get your head out of the noughties.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's trivia time, baby. Do you want a absolutely useless tidbit of information?
Go on.
This episode is the final appearance of Rosa's Nokia 3200.
What does she upgrade to?
She upgrades to a Samsung D500.
Ah.
So it's not the final appearance of the superphone, because
No.
she uses it in Rise of the Cybermen. But it's a different phone at that point. So this is the same phone she had from
Why'd she
End
upgrade?
of the World. I don't know, maybe she was offered something by a provider.
I love the idea.
She's probably had Orange Wednesdays, remember?
How did they get hold of her?
Who's they?
Orange.
Well, if she can contact anyone, surely they can contact her.
Maybe.
In the middle of a life or death situation in the year 5 billion, and it's like,
Ooh, an upgrade.
hi, my name's Tracy, I'm calling from Orange.
Oh.
I'm here to offer you an upgrade. Yeah. So, yeah, do with that information what you will. The Krillitanes were originally named Krillians until the BBC found the name was trademarked by a computer company.
I'm glad they didn't call them Krillians. I don't think I could take a creature called a Krillian very seriously.
Krillian Murphy.
Oh no.
Someone make that edit, please. Finch, his first name was originally Hector.
Hector Finch.
Yeah, until the BBC found a real teacher called Hector Finch. So they renamed him Lucas. Which is funny. They say that.
What do you mean
Do they
found a real teacher? Did they...
I don't know.
Was there a database of teachers? They were like, I need to make sure.
Google, I guess. I don't know. But the thing is that I don't know why this is a trivia thing, because do they ever refer to him by his first name in the story? Is there a part?
I feel like
do they call him Lucas?
Maybe once. I feel like it
Does
was...
he, like, when he's talking to Sarah Jane, does he refer to himself as Lucas or something? I don't know.
Maybe.
Maybe I missed that. But yeah, this episode was such a success that Russell T Davies considered bringing Sarah Jane back annually for every series, but he didn't. Instead, he developed her own spin-off show.
Which I'm so glad.
So that wasn't something that was already planned. That was something that was basically propelled forward because of the success of this episode.
Oh, good.
And that's it. That's all I've got.
Oh, well,
Do you have anything else?
I don't think so.
I don't have any working titles this week for you. I'm sorry.
Oh,
You love the working title segment.
should we make some?
You love. I mean, if you want. I think School Reunion's a good title.
Yeah. Go on. Let's try and think of one.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
A terrible...
If it was like a classical episode, it would be called like Attack of the Krillitanes or something. It would be something that kind of like generic. The Misses and the X. That's what it should have been called.
Yeah.
Well, this one, I know they use it later for the beginning of Series 3, but this also could have been Smith and Jones.
It could, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, actually, no, it's not Smith and Jones. No, Smith and Smith, isn't it? Sorry, I'm being silly. Because he's John Smith.
Smith and Smith.
Yeah, Smith times 3.
3 Smiths.
Smith 3 times. Yeah. Smith, and Tyler.
Yeah.
This is dumb.
It's good.
Yeah, do you have anything else to say about School Reunion?
That's it. That's all good. I just like it.
Yeah, I like it too.
It could be better. It's
It's like a 7. I think it's like a 7 out of 10.
a 6.
Yeah, well, maybe I'll like it a bit more than you.
A 6. Yeah, 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair. Well, anyway, thank you all for listening.
Thank you.
We appreciate you greatly. Don't forget to drop a like or subscribe to keep up with the rest of the stuff. You can check us out over on YouTube, on Spotify, or on Apple Music, wherever you can be bothered to type in our name, really.
Fair
I'll
enough.
say our name. Just type in the pool as abstract, and you'll find us. Or if you're on YouTube, I'm pretty sure I have the links to both of those other ones in the description anyway. So yeah, whatever. But yeah, again, thank you all for listening. We appreciate you greatly, and yeah, stick around for the next episode where we'll be jumping between 18th century France and a 51st century spaceship. But until then, stay safe. Stay away from suspicious school teachers.
Stay away from chips.
Stay away from carbs. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Goodbye.